Charlottesville felt exactly the same way. I'm a social worker, and I talk about, and Dr. Roberts triggered. That triggered me so much. And watching sort of the mindless mob action just touched me, and I thought, this is 60 years later. I don't want this. I can't believe this happened in this time. Of course I can believe it, because that's who we are, okay? As a society, our highest value is violence, and the second is segregation, because we do those really well. So yeah, when did I see it last time? In Virginia, or wherever people coalesce into mindless violence. And I worry about that, because the whole idea that we talk about Central and the 9, but that situation hurt all the children. It hurt the white kids, it hurt the black kids. It hurt this town, it hurt this nation. And I'm wondering how long we're going to keep producing those images for the world to see. And for us to see ourselves. That's somehow deep in the heart of who we are, unless we stop it somehow, unless we change, unless we object to it. So that's kind of my thing. That stuff hurts us all.
I think also I really meant about Trump, because recently we had a black man playing a piano in San Mateo, California, or in a part of the city. And this man, at like 30 years of age, and at midnight he's killed, beat to death in the alley. And these 3 men wore Trump t-shirts saying, "The Klan's alive," and stuff like that. And they were interviewed, and they said, well, we feel our man's in office, we can do what we want. Well, for us as the Little Rock 9, to have our lives reviewed, we ask ourselves, or I ask myself, wait a minute, what was the value of what I did? And didn't anybody get a lesson out of that? And aren't we moving forward? So after a much prayer, I've come to the notion that the current presidency is a lesson to all of us. Because if nothing else, I don't care whose side you're on, you're awake these days. I don't care how you voted, who you voted for, or what you stand for, you're awake. So we're all awake. And we're all going to go somewhere with our awakeness, whether we're Black Lives Matter or Black Lives Don't Matter. Because it woke me up. Get out of your Lexus, get out of that pretty house you got, get your butt in the street and do something about what's going on. We all got to do something again. And I kind of think for a long time, we all were accepting that, oh, we're moving forward, wasn't that sweet? Let's do a few things, but then let's just knit it on. No, that's not the case anymore. So I thank him for being there, because you know what? He is awakening everybody across the world, in fact, not just here. We got to wake up and decide where it is we want to go. The majority of us have to take charge and decide, look, this is the direction we're going to take, or we're not going to take it. We're going to fold over and roll over and go the other way. So that's why I believe that that is a reoccurrence as big and as jarring to me as Central High School was, because it's like a repeat. In some places now, I feel the same way I did then, frightened, unable to protect myself, vulnerable.
I would add that one of the things that the civil rights movement doesn't get enough credit for is widening opportunity for white folks as well as black folks. I mean, Central Arkansas has benefited considerably by having at least the picture changed. As long as it was regarded only as Forbes resisting, industry, new jobs, all of that didn't occur. Now you're in the midst of growth. And I hope as you write your stories that you go back and look at who the beneficiaries are of what we did, and they are beyond the African American community. So civil rights movement, as Dr. King said, has helped free white folks as well as black. And my sense is that there's not enough written about this widening of beneficiary. Hopefully, a press conference like this today will get you to think about the changes that have occurred, and incomes and opportunity and new horizons and vistas and all of that, because of what hopefully we and others have done to try to widen those options.
Years ago, mid-60s, Bernard Malamud wrote a novel entitled The Fixer. Somewhere in that novel, he writes a very cogent sentence. In a sick country, any step toward health is seen as an insult to those who live off the sickness. And I think that's very apropos for us as a nation. We think about it. We sit here looking back 60 years, and it's apropos because that's within our lifespan. But when you go outside those parameters, it could be 400 years later, same issues. And I think 60 years from now, the issues will be the same unless there is some drastic change. History doesn't promote that, though, as a realistic proposition. So I wonder, what do we accomplish with these kinds of interchanges? And perhaps it might be what you were saying, Minnie Jean, that we are here to start the conversation. I chafe at that even because I'm thinking if the conversation hasn't started already, why? Why not? Where have we been? It's realistic to think objectively about our reality. And our reality is not what any of us want, I would think. I was in an audience not too long ago listening to a presentation made by Jamaica Kincaid, fairly noted African-American author. At the end of her talk, a young white man stood up during the Q&A and he said, "Ms. Kincaid, you have touched me. I want to do something. What can I do to help?" And she looked at him very intently and purposefully, and she said, "Young man, there's nothing you can do to help." And he, crestfallen, was about to try and sink back into his chair, and then she followed up with, "Because what I want is for none of this ever to have happened." And as I sat there listening to that, I thought, that's my sentiment too. Yes, I would prefer that none of this stuff ever happened. There is no way on earth you can convince me that there's a rational reason for it. He says, a very young person here in Little Rock, I understood that segregation was wrong. You didn't have to tell me that. I could feel that. There was nothing right about it. It was illegal. It was immoral. It was unconscionable. And yet there it was, with the full support of the majority of the folk in this continuing red state of Arkansas.
There's a statement I write: black folks aren't born knowing they're second-class citizens. We're in a crib. Nobody bends over and goes, "Hey, Melba, you don't get to vote. You don't get to know what's going on. You don't get anything that we get." But instead, your self-esteem is torn from you teaspoon by teaspoon and day by day. And so, as I now have been writing about the earliest times I ever spent in Little Rock, don't tell me things haven't gotten better. Don't tell me things haven't changed, because I am your witness. When I was 4 years of age, I asked my parents, where did I come from? 4 now. They said, the stork brought you. How'd the stork get in? It drops you on the roof, and we gather you from there. You know what I did? I got a red wagon for Christmas, and I parked it outside the front door. And to this day, I know to wear a sun hat, because I sat in that sun as a 4-year-old waiting. You know what I was waiting for? I want the stork to come back to deliver somebody else, and when he was there, I was going to put my hand up and get a ride out. That is how much I hated Little Rock at age 4. Okay? What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you that I knew how I was being treated at age 4. And I knew what it felt like to watch my mother and my father go to the grocery store and bow down in Cowtown to just get, I remember my grandma was looking for some baking powder one day, just to get that baking powder. Woman said, "You're not reaching for that, are you?" Well, yes, she was trying to. "You don't do that. I'll get that down for you." So anybody who wants to tell me that things haven't changed and haven't changed for the better. You got a debate on your hand. When I was younger, you'd have a fight. I've settled down a little bit.